Namathu Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zim, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. So, good evening, everyone. So today is Sunday, the 7th of March, 2021, and this is Achan Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. I hope that you are all keeping well. Since today is Sunday, I hope that you're all being really busy, doing things around. Hello, good evening, Margaret. Good evening, Pankaj. Namo Buddhaya, Prani, Yvonne, and everyone. So, this Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and we're already 1 week in the month of March. Today I took a very relaxed position. Not much doing many things apart from just attending one meeting, listening about the mind body and how the coronavirus, and quite interesting presentation that in a physical term we have this coronavirus is affecting as the cause for this, all the troubles that we are going through. Similarly, in our mind also in trouble and difficulties due to the main root causes of the troubles, the greed, hatred, and a delusion. So that is making our mind polluted, and that's how we are in trouble and getting difficulties, problem with the mental issues. And they say that it is the talk on the basis of it that the moment when we recognize that this situation is taking place, we will be able to overcome by walking the path to the liberation or freedom. But obviously, in order to understand those symptoms and causes and effects, we do have to have the awareness of it and constantly talking about it, which will remind us whenever there is these symptoms arises, then we will be able to recognize that those symptoms are with me too. We become vigilant, and with that vigilant, we will be taking a cautious in any actions that we are taking towards it. So it's like having a road map. And we have a road map that how we can walk through to get to the destination. But we have to learn to use that road map, and only then we can walk on the path to the liberation, path to the freedom from that problem. So these talkings and these awareness is important so that we can have a good understanding and awareness of those symptoms, which will help us to detect, recognize, and free ourselves. So all the activities around the world going on through these agendas is very important. And one of them this afternoon I was attending. And it helps me to understand that mindfulness meditation is such a wonderful tool or a pill. If there is or someone or some pharmaceutical companies could produce mindfulness in a pill, I am pretty sure that people will be turning to the pill. Yeah? And this morning I saw one cartoon, not a cartoon, arts about this one door is written at the door saying that healthy eating, and then another door is written that healthy pills. And people were lining up towards the healthy pills rather than healthy diets. In a similar way, there was a story, that the library full of books, free books, nobody is going towards it. But when there was a sign saying free Wi-Fi, everybody jumping towards it. And which is very common nowadays, and which is true. As soon as wherever you have arrived, first thing in your mind occur is there a Wi-Fi? Yeah, is there a Wi-Fi? And that is the first question we would ask. And that's why this is the practice of a mindfulness meditation is something that's a really important key, which helps us to recognize and also ability to accept that what is going on. And that acceptance will help us to overcome our problems, difficulties. I think I have mentioned that there was one time, once in about a few years ago, one of our friends who had a problem with the mental issues, and he wasn't diagnosed yet. And every time when I had a discussion with him, he always said that people think about me in this way and that way, but I'm not. And that got worse and broke. So he was admitted in Cornhill Hospital, mental hospital. After a few days later, I got a message saying that he wanted to see me. And rather than seeing his own mother and his relatives. And I've met him just a few times. Yeah. Only a few times. And however, he wanted to see me. And with that, I went to see him in the ward, and we had a lovely chat and lovely discussion. And then while I was talking to him along with the table, on the table, there were another man came and we discussed. Meanwhile, I observed around and I noticed that people were talking. And there were 2 people or 3 people on those tables and talking to one another. And it happened that, about 5 o'clock, one of the staff's nurse came and told me, saying that, "Excuse me, it is time for the meal. It's time for the meal, all the indoor patients." And then I looked at all the people and asked her, "What about them? They're still talking." And then he said, "Oh, they're all indoor." And it appeared I was the only person who was visiting, and the rest of others were inside there for the rehabilitation. And I was shocked. I am amidst of all the people, those who are in trouble. Yeah, and who is mad? Who is having a problem like that? So the story is not about that. The story is about that this person later on able to accept that he had a trouble. After talking to the psychiatrist and talking to the doctors, later on he recognized that he had this problem. The moment when he started accepting, the whole process simply unfolds and beginning to get through the process of a healing, process of a curing. And nowadays he looks perfectly fine, apart from occasionally there is a breakdown, and now he knows when it is going to happen, and what he does is go to sleep and take a rest and away from people. Yeah? So that's how it happened, and that's why it is very important to recognize and also accept it is. And it's very important. Many of us, whenever there is a stress or whenever there is a tension, whenever there is a problem, unlikely that we recognize it. And then sometimes we do recognize it, but unlikely that we accept it. And as long as we can't accept that, then we are still far away from the cure, or the walking the path to the cure. So that's why it's very important. I have seen people talking to me about their traumas in the past, and particularly someone who passed away. And then they know that it is not good for them, and yet they can't leave behind because they have conditioned themselves to the existence with it. And losing those memories, losing those traumas is something that they become empty and nothing, and no means to live further, those feelings they have. So that's why it's quite important to accept that I am having it, and because of having it causing a trouble, the moment when we become mindful of that, then obviously the cure will begin. This mindfulness, again, it's not that easy, and also it's not that hard either. It's up to us to how much we practice and how much we develop in the practice. So, practice of a mindfulness meditation, if we recognize and if we have familiar with it, all what is in need is to be mindful of our own body, the sensation of our body, feeling what's going on. And everything that happens, whether it's a trauma, whether it's a pain, whether it's displeasure, stress, tension, whatever you say it, name it, moods, emotions, all will go through the sensation in our body. The moment when we become mindful of these bodily conditions, it will be easy to go through and ability to help ourselves. Margaret is asking, what's the WI code we always ask when going to activities? What is that WI code? Sorry, I don't understand, Margaret. Okay, so that's why this practice of a mindfulness meditation is so important. And here Buddha said in the discourse which we were continuing, and I haven't continued, it's been 2 days answering the questions on what is after Nibbana and what is the meaning of deja vu and something like that. Now we resume the discourse here. The discourse is called Sati, and this is at the Savatthi, one of the famous place where the Buddha stayed many years and gave lots of discourses and teachings. And here said, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu should dwell mindful and clear comprehending. This is our instructions to you. So Buddha said to the old monks and the devotees that this is an instruction that should dwell mindful and comprehension, okay, clear comprehension. And how bhikkhus is a bhikkhu mindful? And now this is the question asked, that how one will live mindfully. And here bhikkhus, a bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, feeling in the feeling, mind in the mind, phenomena in the phenomena, urgent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. It is in this way, bhikkhus, that a bhikkhu is mindful. So that's the first practice that we have to practice, is the 4 satipatthanas. Yeah, 4 satipatthanas. So can you type, whoever remembers the 4 satipatthanas? Yeah? So contemplating on the 4 satipatthanas will help us to be mindful, or establishing a mindfulness, developing our mindfulness in our day-to-day life. And in order to develop this awareness and mindfulness, we have to practice urgently yeah, and having a clear comprehension of that, what we are doing, how are we doing, what is the purpose, what is the effect of our action that we are taking, and that is the contemplation in the body. And having that, we become a mindful, and then ability to remove any concept or the thought of a covetousness or the displeasure and this in regard to the world. That's right, Margaret. So contemplating the body in the body, contemplating the feeling in the feeling, contemplating the mind in the mind, phenomena in the phenomena, or the Dhamma in the Dhamma, is the 4 Satipatthanas that we have to develop in order to gain more insight, in order to gain more mindfulness. We become mindful of every action that we are taking. So in this way, we are mindful of our action, the physical movements, physical changes. I call it taking chemical changes in our body. And when these chemical changes takes place, the feeling arises. So we are contemplating in the feeling. And when we are contemplating in the feeling, how are we relating to the feeling? Our mind is connecting to it. How our mind is in that state. And with that, we will be able to comprehend the Dhamma, that why these things is happening. Is it because of a sensual pleasure? Is it because of anger or hate? Or is it because of the restless mind? Or is it because of not knowing what should be known? Further on, once we have understood, we will be able to see that all the troubles and all the feelings of distress and stress and emotional troubles and things are simply, there is a cause for that. That's simply we don't want it to be, or we want it to be happen, and not happening as we want it to be. In a Buddhist term, it's called yampi chang na labhati tampi dukkhang. We wish things and doesn't happen as we wish. That makes us the suffering. That makes we upset. We become upset, emotionally distressed and stressed, and so on. And these things will be able to comprehend properly as we pay attention to the 4 Satipatthanas. And not only that, as we pay attention to it, gradually we will gain concentration. Because without concentration, there is no mindfulness. And without mindfulness, there is no concentration. So both works hand in hand. And because of that, the more we gain the concentration, the purer the mind becomes, and the cleaner the mind becomes. And with that, we will have a mind power. And that mind power would help us to think or know about the past and know about the future. An ability to comprehend that why we are feeling so familiar with these people, these places, and then why are we feeling so connected, and why whenever we read it, so how it comes so natural and unfolding, easy to understand, makes sense to me like that, whereas in the past it didn't. So that's why when everything comes together, condition matures, everything becomes so easy. And that's why these are the benefit of the practice of insight meditation, the practice of this contemplating in the body, feeling, mind, and the phenomena. And further on, and the Buddha said in this sutta, discourse, sorry, my nose is not just getting some blockings. And the second, it says, how bhikkhus does a bhikkhu exercise clear comprehension? Clear comprehension is called sampajanya. Here bhikkhus, for a bhikkhu, feeling are understood, as they arise. So we need to understand feeling as it arises in a true nature. Now here, it's not the Buddha is not talking about the body arises. Body is already there. Body is already with us. Along with this body, because of the natural movements and natural changes takes place, it produces the feelings. And now here saying that for a feeling are understood as they arise. So we will be able to comprehend that how this feeling is arising, and then understood as they remains present, and as they remains present, how far this feeling is remaining. And remember, I have been quoting and saying again and again for so many times that a feeling is not the problem. Feeling arises as our senses comes to contact with it. What is the problem here is our reaction to that feeling, which makes those feelings last long. If that is pleasantness, then we put our pleasant feelings or thought of having more and continue, and that is a problem. If that is unpleasant, then again we put a value on the negativities and trying to push it away, and which is the reason of having a bad emotions or a state of unhappiness and sadness and those things. And that's simply because our reaction to the feelings that arises, not the feeling itself. And in a modern day, what we are doing nowadays is we are trying to cure the result rather than the cause of it. Yeah, we are trying to resolve the results of that reaction rather than dealing with the cause itself. Like here in a medical science, we think about all the diseases can be cured by making or taking the medicines. In Eastern philosophy, it's not about taking the pills. It is about the changing the habits, making all the elements comes together and fixing it. Yeah? Making your mind fixed by rather than the negativities to the positive. Rather than eating unhealthy foods, you're simply changing your behavior of eating, and that's how you are balancing. That's why there is Ayurvedic, yeah, the ancient Hindus, Brahminical Ayurveda. It doesn't talk about the medicine, it talks about how to make balance in our life. And that is basically not the curing. Yeah, the method is not to cure the result of it, but it's a curing the cause of it. And that's the same thing what we need to do in our way of thinking. So that's it's not the feeling that is a problem, but our reaction to that feeling is a problem. And this is how we see how long does it last. The more we cling on to it, the more we attach to it, the longer time it will remain with us, and it will hurt us every time, every moment. Doesn't matter how many years. And I've said that a person who wanted or desired to hurt you, they probably have forgotten, 10, 15 years ago, but you're still holding that, the word, that the situation, the name, and hurting yourself throughout the time. And that's simply because you are clinging on to it, and then you are maintaining that rather than let it be small, making it long. In fact, the Buddha said our feelings are just like bubbles that arises as the rain falls, the water hits the surface of the water. That bubble just pops in and then drops out. So that is the understanding with meditation. And the third one, it says that understood as they remain present. Ability to understand that it's remain in the present, and understood as they passed away. So ability to understand. The moment when we become mindful of that emotions, that feelings, we will be able to recognize that how it is fading away. Condition changes. We become the boss towards our own feelings rather than the feeling is taking control over you. You become a boss over it. And with that, suddenly the power of this emotion decreases. You got the power. You are going to change the whole scenario, whole situation, you, the person who is going to change the whole story. Okay, so that is the third one. So have to understand how it arises, have to understand how much the remaining of it, and then vanishing, or the ending of it. And along with that, what happens is, okay, there will be a thoughts and a perceptions, which I will speak tomorrow. But today we are just concentrating on the subject of the feelings, emotions. So feeling is not the problem, but our reaction to it is a problem. And why do we react on it? Because we do not understand that these feelings are conditioned, aroused, and it's only for temporarily. But we do not take it as a temporarily, and we do not take it as a conditioned. We put our subjectively in a subjectivity there, that this is me, mine, I am. And then we put more thoughts into it and long onto it. So that's why practice of a meditation will help us to comprehend in its true nature. And that's how we will be able to overcome all those mental diseases that is causing us not to be happy. So I end here for tonight's reflection on this, and we'll come back again tomorrow. So thank you everyone for listening, and may you all be well and happy. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. In a few moments' time, we are going to have evening chanting and guided meditation. You're most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night and see you shortly. Thank you. Sadhu.